These are the best shaders you can use for Minecraft 1.21, at least in my opinion. I get tons of questions each and every day about what shaders I use, and then follow-up questions about what settings I use. Now, around 4 months ago, I did make a video detailing my shaders and their settings, but as of 1.21, those shaders don't necessarily like the new update, and it causes visual bugs with the clouds, as well as grass not getting proper lighting even when the sun is out. So in today's video, I'll be giving you guys an updated version of my shader settings as of 1.21, so that anybody can follow along and get their game looking exactly like mine. Please make sure to subscribe if you enjoy the content today so that you can see more videos from me, and let's jump into it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a video that I know tons of you guys have been waiting for, and that is of course my shader settings. Now today, as you guys saw in the intro, we are going to be doing an updated video because my other shaders have kind of started to look pretty bad as of the new Minecraft update. So today I'll be telling you guys what shaders I currently use in Minecraft, as well as going over all of the setting changes that I have made one by one. So to start off with, the shaders that I am running right now are called Complementary Shaders Reimagined, specifically the version 5.2.2. Now, if you do install these shaders, this is not how your game is going to look. Your game is going to look a little something like this instead, and we have tons of changes coming in this video that is going to make your shaders look exactly like mine. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump into it. I'm gonna go and get a little overview of this mess of a creative world that I have right here. We of course are going to start on just the regular complementary reimagined shaders, and then of course as we go on, you'll notice that the game is going to eventually look like this after we get through all of the settings. So I'm going to go and throw the default shaders right back on, and let's go ahead and jump into the actual settings. So the first settings that we're going to go to is the performance settings. Now this is going to be high by default on my computer. This might be a little bit different for you, but mainly this is just to help make your game run better. So one of the things that doesn't necessarily make a huge difference is this anti-aliasing right here. Now, if I'm not mistaken, Minecraft by default has this off, and what this does is it smooths the edges of blocks and whatnot. I don't really like that. I like the game to look as vanilla as possible with shaders, and things like anti-aliasing kind of make the game look a little blurry and not as sharp, so I don't like having this on. I'm going to go to the shadow distance. I'm going to bring that down to 10 chunks. That's just what I run with any shader pack, as well as the block reflection quality. I'm just going to bring this to low. Again, this entire screen is mainly based off of performance, so if you have a really beefy computer, you can up the quality of all these settings and the reflections and stuff like that if you want to. Just for me personally, this is what I run. Now let's go ahead and move on over to the lighting settings. Here we're going to go to the edge shadow intensity. We're going to bring this up to 300. The shadow light multiplier, we're going to bring this to 150. Shadow smoothing, we're going to bring to smooth. Cave lighting, I'm going to make bright just because I like it looking a little bit bright underground. And the edge shadow intensity up to 150 for here as well. And this is basically just going to make shadows look a little bit darker. They're going to pop out a little bit more, and I like the way that that looks. Now we're going to go to the lighting color multipliers here. So we're going to open this up and we are going to turn this on. Now what this is going to do is it's going to make the outside lighting area, basically whenever the sun is out and at night and stuff, it's going to basically change how the terrain looks, make it look a little bit more cold, a little bit more warm, that kind of stuff. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go to night. I like how the nighttime looks with these shaders, so we're not really going to change much. We're just going to make it look a little bit brighter outside. So under nighttime, we're going to increase the lighting intensity multiplier, basically making the moon a little bit brighter and lighting up the outside dark areas. So that's going to go from 1 to 1.40. Now we're going to go to the noon time, and this is very important. This is what's going to basically replicate the bluish look outside and make everything look not as warm and whatnot. So what we're going to do here is we're going to bring the red multiplier down to 0.95. We're going to go to the blue multiplier, bring this down to 0.90, green multiplier 0.95, and the lighting intensity down to 0.90. Once we've done that, we're going to move on over to the block light color. Now, what this does is it's going to change the general look of how things are lit up. So if we actually look over here where my mouse is, if I go ahead and get rid of the screen, you'll notice that these lanterns create an orange light whenever you place them down. Me personally, I like when the light that comes from torches and lanterns to just be a neutral color, aka just white, because sometimes I don't like the insides of my houses and caves to have that warm lighting and stuff, which again you can see from down here against that little building down there. So to achieve just a regular neutral color for block light, what we're going to do is we're going to go to the blue multiplier. We're going to bring this to 2.0, the green multiplier at 1.6, and then the block light intensity I have a little bit brighter at 1.5. So we're going to go ahead and back out of that, back out one more time, and then go to the camera settings. Now in the camera settings, what we're going to do is we're going to turn the bloom off, and we're also going to turn off underwater distortion, which basically means if you're underwater, your camera isn't going to get all messed with and things aren't going to look all weird and wobbly just because you're underwater. You can turn this on if you like realism. I just try to keep things a little bit closer to the vanilla side of the game. Next, we're going to go to color balance. We're going to go to the general brightness. We're going to bring this up to 1.50. Then we're going to go to contrast of bright color, bring this up to 1.40. And the saturation, we're just going to take down a tick. Now, next up, we also have the atmosphere. Now, this is basically one of the most important parts of this entire video is what you're going to change in the atmosphere portion. So personally, I don't really care for the Aurora Borealis stuff, so I turn that off. I also turn off rainbows. They're a little distracting for me. It's not that I hate them or anything. It's just, I don't know, whenever I see them out in the wild, it's just really distracting. They're not in the base game, so I don't really like to have them. We're going to move on to clouds, and we're going to change the cloud style to reimagined, and that's basically just going to give you those nice vanilla looking puffy clouds up in the air. So after that, we're going to go to sun and moon. We're going to change the sun and moon style to reimagine, and the angle, normally I would have it at 0, but I noticed that the game looks a little bit better at -20, where you have a little bit of, a little bit more shadows being cast, especially during the middle of the day at noon. So I do like to have -20. Sun and moon during rain, I turn this off. Again, it's one of those distracting things that when it's raining and you can still see the sun super bright in the sky, I don't really like that, so I do turn that off. Now we're going to go to rain and weather. You'll see that sun and moon during rain is off already. We're going to change the rainy weather style to heavy and colder, which is basically going to change the atmosphere of how things look outside to be a little bit more chaotic. And I kind of like that, a little bit more vanilla. Outside of that, again, we do have this turned off, and I am going to turn up the weather texture opacity to 150. Now, outside of that, we're going to back out and go to the atmosphere color multipliers, and we're going to go to noon time. And this is basically, if you look at the sky currently, how it's like very washed out and white and, just a little pale blue. This is going to make it a very vibrant, kind of dark cyan, light blue, whatever. It's going to make it look really good. So here we, of course, got to make sure that we have the atmosphere color multipliers turned on so that we can change these settings. We're going to go to noon. We're going to bring the red multiplier down to 1.50, the blue multiplier to 1.40, and the intensity to 1.90. Now we're going to go ahead and back out of this. We're also going to go to the fog settings, and kind of how earlier I made it where caves are a little bit brighter. This kind of messes with your vision a little bit. Cave fog can be pretty atmospheric. If you like that, you can keep it on. I personally do not, so I turn it off. Now, the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna go to materials, and then we're gonna go to integrated PBR plus materials, and then we're going to go to glowing ores. Now, if you didn't know, the shader pack allows ores to glow by default. It's really cool, especially whenever you're in caves. It helps you find them a lot easier, and you don't need any kind of resource pack like ore borders or anything like that. The only thing I don't like about the setting by default is that ancient debris glows, and I feel like that doesn't really make much sense. I turn it off. However, if you do want to find if you want to have an easier way to find ancient debris when you're mining in the nether, then definitely keep this on. I personally don't really care for it. Now we're going to go ahead and back out. We're going to go to water, And in the water settings, the only thing I'm going to change is the water opacity factor to 150, so water is a little bit darker. And the water foam intensity, I'm going to turn this down to 0. And basically what water foam is it creates like this little white mist whenever water comes in contact with blocks against the surface. I don't really like the way that that looks. It can look really good outside, you know, during like next to ponds and oceans and stuff. But inside of your base, if you have like an infinite water source or something, it just kind of looks ugly. I don't really care for it. Going to waving textures, we're going to bring the waving speed down to 0.50. I think it's a little too fast by default. And then we're going to go to one of the other most important parts of this, and basically the last thing that you need to change, which is in the other tab. And what we're going to do is we're going to go to the world outline, and this is what I get a lot of comments about. We're going to turn the world outline on. We're going to make the thickness 3, and we're going to bring the brightness down to around 0.60. You can change this as much as you want to make it as noticeable as you want, but this is normally what I run. We're going to hit the apply button. We're going to let it load, and we're going to let it make all of the changes that it possibly would need to. And just like that, ladies and gentlemen, if you followed my steps exactly, you'll notice that your game looks exactly like my game. Every single change that we made is the culmination of making your Minecraft look very vibrant, making it look a lot more realistic, and honestly keeping that vanilla flair with it by getting the nice blue skies, the clouds, and, you know, little outlines around stuff in the distance to kind of make things pop. Hi there. Little oopsie doopsie on my part. I forgot to show you guys the end, and this is currently using just the default settings with these shaders. I'm going to show you how to transform the end into looking a little something like this, where it's a little bit brighter in here. The little purple atmosphere stuff looks a little bit better in the background, and it doesn't just look so bland like this version. I don't know why it didn't cross my mind, mainly because I didn't think about changing the nether. Like, I like the way that the nether looks, but I don't really go to the end that often, so I hadn't really thought about it. So I'm just going to go and show you guys really quick. Go to the lighting settings, go to lighting color multipliers. Again, make sure this is turned on, and go to the end dimension. The lighting intensity multiplier is going to be 2. The green is going to be 1.20, and the red and the blue multipliers are going to be 1.10. You're going to back out of this, and then you're going to go to atmosphere. Whenever you're in atmosphere, go to atmosphere color multipliers, and then the end dimension. Here, you're going to make red 0.70, blue is going to stay 1.0, green is going to be 0.50, and atmosphere intensity multiplier is going to be 1.20. That way, the end is going to look a little bit brighter, not as bland, and if we locate an end city and head on over there, you'll see that, you know, here's another instance of how it'll look in the end, and I think this looks a little bit better than the end being super dark all the time. I think that's my main issue with the default version of these shaders. I mean, this just looks so depressing. I mean, like the purple in the background and stuff looks really cool, but the end itself is just so dark and depressing, and whenever I think of the end, I don't really think of that. I think that it looks like a whimsical location filled with wonder, but it's also empty and barren for the most part, and I feel like these shaders and these settings help convey that idea. But guys, thank you so much for watching. Again, I'm sorry, I just had to throw that into the video because I didn't want you guys, you know, checking out these settings and stuff and, you know, going to the end and being like, hey, why does everything look so ugly? So yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Say hi to the shulker behind me, and I'll see you all next time.